guys, it's Angelo, and today, just about 2 weeks out from the release of World of Warcraft's newest, most ambitious expansion, Shadowlands, we're having one last roundup of the state of the Shadow Priest. The Shadow Priest has seen many changes throughout the alpha and the beta process, many more than any other class or spec in the game by far. From a spec rework to various legendary changes, Legendaries completely reworked, brand new ones added, Covenants reworked multiple times, it's been quite a long journey. Of course, we enjoyed the entire journey together through all of the videos I've been uploading ever since the alpha, and this will be the final beta Shadow Priest video before the launch of Shadowlands. We'll be discussing the current state of the Covenants, which ones currently seem best, which legendaries seem strong, before ending us off with the overall state of the Shadow Priest, deciding whether or not you should give the spec a try or continue playing it. Also, just some quick housekeeping. I am streaming on Twitch every weekday from 9 AM Central European Time to 12 PM, and then again from 6 PM to about 11 PM. We'll be streaming throughout the entirety of Shadowlands, so be sure to catch me there to ask any question you may have. The link is in the description box below, of course. If you want to join the discussion with anything Priest or World of Warcraft related, then be sure to join our Discord server with the link also down below. Alright, with that being said, and without any further ado, let's go right ahead and have a look. Okay, so let's start us off with the current Covenant situation. Covenants have seen a tremendous amount of change, and we're genuinely not over the hill yet when it comes to said changes. We still have 2 weeks to go, so Covenants could potentially change once again. Currently, however, many of you will probably experience somewhat of a shock ever since the last Covenant video I've made, because so many things have changed. Currently, the Curians are our strongest choice of Covenants by a considerable margin in most aspects of gameplay. Should this not change again, we will find ourselves most likely to be playing as Curians. In dungeons specifically, they're only barely ahead of the Necrolords, and as you can see, the Necrolords probably come out of all of these Covenant changes as the winners of hearts, so to speak, because they're pretty much the second best now in composite multi-target, in single target, and in dungeon environments. The Venthyr have seen a definite drop in competitiveness, coming in on a third spot pretty much all across the board, while the Night Fae have been the most disappointing, starting off as our best Covenant choice many months ago, and now end up just pretty much being completely avoided. Now, the reason that the Curians are so incredibly strong stem from multiple aspects. Their Covenant ability, the Boon of the Ascended, plays incredibly clunky, doesn't really generate any insanity, and is, in my personal opinion, no fun to play at all. However, what it does do is loads of damage. This, paired with the strongest current soulbind in the game, which is Pelagos, who is exclusive to the Curian Covenant, makes the choice almost feel forced at the moment for most types of gameplay. Now, important to add here is that once all Covenants are maxed out, once you basically have all of the soulbind traits, all of the conduits, and anything else Covenant related, then the Curians are only ahead of the Necrolords by just about 1% in a dungeon environment and only about 3% in raids. If you don't really care about these 1% or 3% differences, the Necrolords could still be very appealing to you. Also keep in mind that you are able to switch Covenants later on, so should a Covenant be nerfed or changed, you can potentially still make the effort and change your loyalties. The Curians have the only competitive Covenant exclusive conduit though at the moment, which is called Courageous Ascension, and I personally don't see that changing. Fortunately, we won't be using that conduit at the start of the expansion most likely, because other spec exclusive Covenants are a lot stronger, but it's something to keep in mind later down the line. Whenever more potency conduit slots open up, of course, this will become important. Now, what do you think about Covenant so far? Do you enjoy the idea? Are you a bit nervous to make the wrong decision? Be sure to let me know in the comments down below. Alright, now let's take a look at Legendaries in detail. Alright, on to the subject of Legendaries. Legendaries, as stated at the start of this video, have also seen a load of changes. Talbot Stratagem, for example, was not in the game until the Shadow Priest rework was released, While the Shadow Flame Prism previously basically just buffed our Mindbender in damage numbers before being completely reworked to allow Mindbender to play a role in 5 target damage patterns and letting it synergize better with Mind Blast, Shadow Word Death, Death and Madness, and Void Form itself. The spec has seen its fair share of legendary changes, however the winners at the moment seem to be pretty clear. The first legendary you'll want to be acquiring currently is the Eternal Call to the Void, so the Tentacle legendary, as most of you will probably know it as. It currently provides us with the most benefit, especially so because it generates extra insanity. At low haste levels, it will essentially take once every second, or to be specific every 0.9 seconds, and grants us 3 insanity per tick. It will tick for 15 seconds, which results in a total of about 45 insanity should it be able to channel through to the end. Which of course is almost a full Devouring Plague per proc extra for you. Eternal Call to the Void is also a completely passive proc, which may not be a lot of fun to use perhaps, but this does make it very easy, or rather makes it an easy legendary to pick up and play with, as it does not alter your rotation at all, or change anything really. Talbot's stratagem comes pretty close in simulations to the Eternal Call to the Void when it comes to single target encounters, only being behind by about 0.2% of damage. A special thanks of course to Publik, by the way, for doing all of the work with these simulations for all of us to see and use. I'll leave a link to those in the description box down below. When it comes to dungeons, your Tentacle legendary also provides to be the strongest, or rather proves to be the strongest, by quite a considerable margin, with the Shadow Flame Prism only kind of competitive whenever you use Mindbender as a conduit, or rather the Mindbender conduit along with it, which will probably never be the case. Now, legendaries in general leave a lot to be desired currently in Shadowlands. You'll notice yourself in 2 weeks, when the expansion launches, that none of these legendaries actually feel legendary, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I kind of feel like a clown every time I craft a new legendary item in Torghast, going through an extensive cutscene every time just to get absolutely lackluster effects added to my items. Should anything concerning legendaries change, I'll be sure to let you all know in the Shadow Priest guide coming next week and also on stream. So again, be sure to follow me on stream to stay updated. So, with all of that said, let's now go ahead and discuss the current general state of the Shadow Priest on beta. Okay, so I think the best way to start this topic off is by saying the following. If the Shadow Priest were to go live exactly the way it is now, okay, on November 9th, 2 weeks before Shadowlands, it would be perfectly fine. We'd have a fun spec, an engaging, thought-through rotation with many macro and micro management involved, and a formidable amount of damage. We'd be insanely strong in single target, probably stronger than any or rather all other specs except maybe Warlocks or Mages, and we'd be very strong in AoE, so in Mythic Plus. Our dots in my opinion require a buff though, as both Shadow Word Pain and Vampiric Touch feel somewhat underwhelming. Both Vampiric Touch and Shadow Word Pain seem of course as well to be more of a medium to use in order to funnel other types of damage into our enemies. Vampiric Touch, for example, enables Spiteful Apparitions to proc, which then of course could also use a buff in my opinion, but only a small one, while Shadow Word Pain goes hand in hand with Mind Seer and Searing Nightmare. It almost feels as if we have 2 specs tied into a single one, because we have 2 forms of gameplay we're able to achieve. This is a good thing though, you can actually trust me on that one. We can either focus on single target or cleave damage, which is Vampiric Touch heavy, focusing on Spiteful Apparitions, Mind Blast procs, and Mind Flay to generate insanity for Devouring Plague, or a heavy AoE build with things like Searing Nightmare and Shadow Crash, which focuses on spamming Mind Seer and Searing Nightmare, pretty much keeping Shadow Crash on cooldown and spreading Shadow Word Pain on everything in front of you. Both gameplay variants are a lot of fun, and I'm sure many, if not most of you, will actually enjoy them thoroughly. The Shadow Priest is in a state never seen before, actually being a competitive choice for any relevant gameplay aspect, be it Mythic Plus, raids, world content, or PvP, it really doesn't matter. Most talents feel as if they bring value to the spec, for example Death and Madness, Unfurling Darkness, or even Fortress of the Mind, while other talents, or rather talent rows, still seem a little bit unbalanced. For example, the row of Auspicious Spirits, which is very strong, Psychic Link, which is incredibly weak, and Shadow Crash, which is very strong. All in all, there's still some room for balancing in our talents, but most of our talents are very competitive to and with one another. It will be nothing out of the ordinary to see a Shadow Priest playing Mythic Plus with, for example, Hungering Void, while another will be playing Surrender to Madness for the exact same key. You'll also see people playing with Shadow Crash and Single Target, which currently sims within the highest talent combination, while someone else will probably just be using Auspicious Spirits, which is only very narrowly behind Shadow Crash. This is a good thing because this offers the spec variety and flexibility, and you can essentially pull off multiple types of talent combinations rather than just being forced to play a single one. All in all, I'm overwhelmingly positive when it comes to the Shadow Priest, and I think that many of you will actually enjoy the spec a lot. We've genuinely never been set to have a better time, and even though I will miss the Legion and BFA Shadow Priest, and it will always have a place in my heart, this new Shadow Priest is the better choice to go with. What do you think? Be sure of course to let me know in the comments down below. Now, as always my friends, thank you so much for watching, and a special thanks to all of my supporters over on Patreon. Now of course, have a good one, get excited for Shadowlands, get excited for my guides. They will come out starting next week actually, with the rotation videos and the actual guide videos, and I will see you all in the next one.